Hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Under a Rock podcast with your hosts, MrBevers and...
Oh, me, Sharla.
Haha, got there. I confused her this time because she wasn't expecting for me not to say her name.
I really wasn't.
Alright. Sharla has a little bit of a disclaimer here to read you at the beginning of this episode. We'll probably have it for the next few episodes. Take it away, Sharla.
I'm only going to read it once, though. So, we're living in scary times. Let's be real about that. But I'm going to do my best to keep them out of this podcast. Given how things are, it's going to sneak in, but I'm going to try to not let it be the main focus of anything that I tell you about. I do have quite a backlog of interesting news articles from before shit hit the fan, so I'm going to hopefully work through some of those and hopefully find some new crazy shit that happens without it being related to things. So, I'm going to do my absolute best, my promise to you, to keep this place coronavirus free. Because we all need an escape from that right now. Fair? Alright.
Sounds good. Thank you, Sharla, for that little disclaimer. Let's get into the good stuff. What do we got first?
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens.
Oh, God, why?
Are you ready to hear about the Southern Ontario Tiger King?
What? No, okay.
So, a couple of big cat owners in Grand Bend, Ontario, are determined to stay put and fight a town they say has treated them like garbage. The attention has been generated by a bitter and very public feud between the Drysdales and the town of Lambton Shores that's played out in the courts over the last year. At issue is whether the couple can keep their collection of big cats, which includes 8 lions and 2 tigers, on their 22-acre property located on the rim of Pinery Provincial Park in Grand Bend. Since the Drysdales bought the property last April, the town has engaged in a sometimes ham-fisted campaign to shut them down, including the passage of a hastily slapped-together exotic animal bylaw banning the ownership of lions and tigers. The bylaw was passed just 2 days after CBC News first reported the couple's plans for roaring cat rescue. Oh, retreat.
Retreat, okay.
Yes, it's a retreat, not a rescue. In turn, the Drysdales are suing the town for $5 million, alleging local politicians held secret closed-door meetings to create an exotic animal bylaw aimed at sinking their business. Drysdale said at first municipal officials welcomed the couple, their big cats, and the prospect that they might open a private zoo in the lakeside tourist community on a property they purchased because it was once the grounds of the former Pine Ridge Zoo. We decided to buy a $720,000 piece of property, the entire 22 acres, based on the fact that there were no zoning bylaws, that we were welcome, and that we would be able to run some kind of commercial venture if we wanted to. We were told no problem at all, you can have your cats there. They told us how excited they were about us coming here. And like a house cat that suddenly turns aggressive when touched the wrong way, the Drysdales said the town's demeanor suddenly changed, but only after the couple closed the deal on their house and the proverbial cat was out of the bag on the couple's dream of building Roaring Cat Retreat. The Drysdales say they've been in the town's crosshairs ever since, which has laid 11 bylaw charges and taken them to court, forcing them to limit visitors and volunteers on their property and home for health and safety reasons, which Tammy Drysdale has said spilled into their personal lives. Lambton Shores has also blocked them from building a 12-foot-high fence around the Drysdales' property, something Mark Drysdale said would help protect the surrounding community. Drysdale said the fact that the town blocked the construction of the perimeter fence is the reason 2 lion cubs escaped his property after vandals cut the locks to their cages in November. There's $80,000 worth of fencing spooled in the couple's yard, while a number of fence posts sit unfinished on the rim of their property. Mark Drysdale said they would normally receive income from putting their lions and tigers in movies, but since the controversy erupted, the couple hasn't been able to find work for their animals. Mark and Tammy Drysdale were ordered in February to have their animals removed from the municipality of Lambton Shores by March 31st. On April 1st, the court extended the deadline for at least another month to April 30th and possibly even May 15th, depending on how long it takes for the COVID-19 pandemic to run its course. The Drysdales said that while they disagree with the judge's ruling, they will obey the court's wishes and plan to move their animals to a secret location in the province's north once strict government clampdowns meant to stop the spread of COVID-19 are lifted. Despite everything, the couple vows to hang on to their property and fight a council and mayor who they say have refused to even speak to them.
That was a long story.
It
Holy
was.
moly. And you know what? We watched The Tiger King.
We did.
And I'm sure most of you out there listening to this may have already seen it yourself. And if you didn't, you know,
oh my god, go watch it.
it may not be for you. It may not be for you.
It's for everyone.
Not necessarily. There are some people out there that may not want or care about it. It is a ridiculous story, and it is, you know, one of those. It's like a sensationalized dramatization of something that actually happened. Right? That is basically what it is. We don't know any of the stuff that happened in between things or stuff like that. So we're seeing the good bits, right? But there's probably a lot of slow bits that happened in the middle of filming all that stuff as well, right? Just the day-to-day normal stuff, right? For them. Maybe not normal stuff for most people, but normal stuff for them. And
normal is relative, right?
This is definitely not nearly as crazy as that story, right? By any means.
Unless Mark Drysdale runs for Prime Minister.
I guess. The thing for me here is that, like, I didn't realize that this was a thing. That we had people in Ontario that had large numbers of cats, other than, the zoos and things that are around already.
Well, I know somewhere up north, like they said, might even be the same spot, there is a big cat rescue, because I know people who have gone there, but I'm not really sure how much to call it a rescue.
Yes.
Because you are paying to see these animals, interact with these animals, I don't know, feed them. Like when I was talking to the people who were going to it, they were listing off a great number of things you could do, and they all cost money to do them. Yeah. And I understand there's expenses when you're running a rescue, especially for animals that large, and how much they have to eat, and they have to eat quality meat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But like, I like you, I didn't know there was just people in Ontario who had big cats.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
There's a place up north with polar bears. It could be the same thing.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. Well, so for me, like, this thing is very much a different scenario than the Tiger King show. But, that being said, the only way they're going to keep those cats around is by making money off of them, because they are expensive to keep.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, they said they were doing that by putting them in movies and TV shows and that kind of stuff, because they're trained, obviously, right? So that makes sense. It just seems weird to me. What I'm getting at, and where I'm trying to go with this point, even cat rescues, in my opinion, are not true rescues, because of what you said. That's similar, right? They're gonna have to charge money for all of the things, because they have expenses. I get that. But as soon as you're letting the public interact with these animals in a way that they wouldn't normally interact with, you're now no longer a rescue.
Mm-hmm.
You're not rehabilitating these cats to go back into the wild or keeping them protected. You are now profiting off of their inability to be kept outside of a cage.
Yes. Now, I know quite a few people in my time who have railed so hard against real legitimate zoos, like even the Toronto Zoo. Like, it's a real legitimate accredited good handlers zoo, you know?
Yep.
And there's those few times where, like, you're not like touching the animal, but you're having like close encounters with the animal. And I just feel like there is that kind of line of like, where does it become educational to where does it become entertainment?
Correct.
So, like, the Toronto Zoo has breeding programs for, endangered wildlife. They're keeping them as natural as they can in their habitats, which is an expensive endeavor as well. Mm. So it's like, where does it cross that line where it's no longer the educational, we need to keep these animals safe kind of thing, into the, well, now I'm doing this because I make money kind of
Correct,
thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's the problem, right? Yeah. Is that a lot of these private zoos or big cat rescues or whatever, they start off with completely good intentions. Mm-hmm. We're here to respect the animals, keep them safe, give them a good home until they are no longer with us, basically, right? Yeah. Keep them in good health and give them the love and attention they deserve, that kind of stuff, fine, right? The problem is that a lot of those places then turn into what we see in the Tiger King, right? Which is I'm now doing this for profit. I pull in X amount of dollars every month from this happening, blah, blah, blah. I'm breeding these animals specifically to then get things to that, make more money with, right? And that's crazy, right? That's you're now no longer doing it for the animal. You're doing it for your own benefit. And that's not great. Yeah. And I mean, you opened this story with the line from the person from the show. I don't want to ruin the show for anyone out there.
It's so fun to say.
I don't want to ruin the show for anyone who's out there that hasn't watched it or that is planning to watch it. But the cat rescue in Florida, I guess it's Florida. Is that where it is?
Yes.
I think that's where it is, right?
Yes.
They're a rescue, right? Supposedly, or like a cat refuge, big cat refuge or rescue or whatever you want to call it. But they profit off of letting people come in to see the cats. And they don't pay employees anything.
It's all volunteers.
It's all volunteers. So they have very little expenses other than the cats and the grounds. Mm-hmm. Right? So, that's another way, even though they may not be making a lot of money compared to what, maybe what the Tiger King or some of the other exotic pet owners do with, selling time with cubs and all that kind of stuff. They're still making money because they don't pay their workers, right? And the volunteers might be thinking they're doing something good, but at the same time, maybe they're not, right? Mm-hmm. You have to really think about it from the aspect of, where do you draw the line of profit is too much profit for something like this versus if they're just making enough money to keep the cats comfortable, give them a place to be safe, great. But as soon as they start pulling in money and being like, I don't have to work anywhere else, I don't have to do anything else because I make enough money off of this thing, and I'm making more money because I'm shutting down all these illegal ones out there and taking their cats, so now I have more attractions, and you're getting those for free because you're a rescue, right? It's not great. It's not great. I have a big problem with these types of things just in general.
Yeah, we've gone on quite the tangent here. What I wanted to actually bring up, back to the article, something you just said, you were mentioning the volunteers that she has in Florida.
Yeah.
That's part of the limiting of people that have been on the Drysdale's property. They have a limit of 6 volunteers or family members at a time.
Right.
That's part of the bylaws they passed. No more than 6 people. So that's why they say that it's affecting their life.
The quality of life.
They're not allowed, they themselves, they're not allowed to have, Thanksgiving, Easter, Christmas, birthday parties. They're not allowed to have their family there.
Right.
But it also means that they don't have volunteers or, any kind of veterinary practices that are now allowed to come there and be there on a regular basis.
Correct.
They're a limit of 6.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Now they only have
8 lions, 2 tigers.
8 lions, 2 tigers. Yeah.
So 10. They have 10 big cats.
They have 10 big cats, which admittedly is not a lot.
But it is more than they should have.
Yeah, bringing it back into another point, they said that the town blocked construction of a perimeter fence, and that's the reason that 2 lion cubs escaped their property last November.
Which means they're breeding.
Yes, potentially they're breeding, or those 2 lion cubs are their 2 lions.
Are 2 of their 8 lions.
Yeah.
Sure.
So who knows?
But where did they get the cubs from? They're either breeding them or they've bought them that young,
if
right?
all the lions are in a cage together, it's entirely possible that they were just like, ooh, hanky-panky,
Sure. But you know what I mean, right? Like, it's gonna be... It's a very gray area.
But I also want to come back to these cubs, and who the fuck thinks it's a good idea to let cubs out on the loose?
Well, yes. The people who
I remember reading that article last November. Before we were doing this, I remember reading an article about lion cubs that got loose in the western part of the province on like the near Grand Bend or Lambton Shores or whatever, right? It's all the same area. And I remember reading that and thinking, who the fuck has fucking lion cubs? And that's a thing?
And not only that, but who lets lion cubs out and then doesn't supervise them and just lets them run
I was
off?
like, where did these cubs come from? And I don't remember reading that there was any big cats like this kind of thing out there. Like, it just kind of glossed over the fact that there was someone out there
that had this,
who had a large number of large cats.
Right. Yep.
So I understand them hastily throwing together an exotic animal bylaw to be like, holy shit, we can't get this, like, out of hand here. Because Lambton Shores is a small community. Very touristy. Like, in the summer, their population explodes.
Right. Hence why they wanted them to come in the first place, because they could open a private zoo there, and it's more tourism. Yes.
They were just like, yeah, this is cool. And then, like, 10 days later, they're like, oh, this ain't fucking cool anymore. Bylaws. Throw them at them.
I mean, I don't want to say that I agree with the way that the government or the township is handling all of this, because I don't, right? I think the way they're handling it is not ideal. But at the same time, like, you shouldn't have big cats, in my opinion.
It's just
they're not meant. They're not meant. And some people will be like, no, they're just like regular cats. They're just bigger. Sure, but, you know, when you have a cat that size and you're not keeping it as just a pet, because these are obviously not just pets. And when you have this many, you're not, like, anyone who has 10 normal cats, like house cats, you're going to think they're crazy too with that many cats.
I knew someone who had 22.
But you know what I mean? Like, most people who have that many small house cats are also labeled as, that's too many cats.
Crazy cat people.
That's too many cats for one house.
Yes.
You have 10 big cats? That's probably, I would say, at most, 8 too many big cats. 2, I could see you maybe having 2, and it's like they're your house cats, fine. And you just like big house cats. Like, I saw a video earlier today of some dude who has a cougar as his house cat.
That would kind of be awesome.
Has a cougar as his house cat, and the cougar looks like it just loves being a house cat, right? But they have 1, and that's it, because 1's more than enough when you have a house cat.
I think the point is, it is a super gray area between laws and what is, you know, morally right. It's just a very large gray area that we're probably going to hear a lot more about now because of the popularity of Netflix's Tiger King.
Correct. Yeah, so they're not going to be very happy. That industry is not going to be very happy with what's going on.
But let's just leave it at that.
Yep.
We're done with big cats.
Sounds good.
Okay. On to koalas.
Ooh, koalas.
Koalas.
They're cute.
Yeah. Koalas injured during Australia's record bushfire season are being released back home. Koalas injured by Australia's unprecedented wildfire season are finally going home. Caretakers at the Koala Hospital at Port Macquarie, Australia, have successfully released at least 49 koalas back into the wild, some of which have been even returned to their original trees after months of being tirelessly treated and rehabilitated by those at the Wildlife Rehabilitation Facility. This was an incredibly emotional moment for the vets, volunteers, and koalas, the Greater Port Macquarie Facebook page wrote in a recent post. Their habitat is recovering beautifully with the recent rain, and there is plenty of food and water. What a journey! Oh, the stories they will tell their furry friends.
Yay, a feels-good story.
Woo!
Yay. This is how, this right here, this story, is how cat rescues should work. They should be taking in the cats that are being mistreated or have been injured or whatever, and rehabilitating them to be re-released back to their natural habitats. Now, that being said, tigers and lions, their natural habitat is not Ontario, Canada.
Yes. So, the way you've said this, I'm going to bring up a zoo again. The Assiniboine Park Zoo in Winnipeg, Manitoba, takes in orphaned polar bear cubs, polar bears who have been injured and are unlikely to survive on their own, and some other I forget what the third kind is. Point is, they take injured polar bears and orphaned cubs into their zoo, they rehabilitate them, they make sure they're okay, and if they can, they release them back into the wild.
Correct.
So, basically, Assiniboine Park Zoo is running a rescue and rehabilitation
for polar bears.
For polar bears.
Yep.
So that's perfectly fine. Just like this place, it is literally a koala hospital.
Correct. Which they, like, so I don't know, like, and your article doesn't say, but...
It's a very short article.
Did the koala hospital exist prior to this, or did it get stood up because of the extreme situation they were in? Do you know what I mean?
Given that Australia does have wildfires every year, and they're particularly bad in New South Wales, where this koala hospital is, I'm going to say that they're always there. Okay. But they probably just had, like, a huge unprecedented numbers of koalas.
They would have had a huge influx, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's good, though. I mean, like,
Yeah.
49 koalas back into the wild, some into their original habitats.
No, not their original tree they found them in.
Correct. That's awesome. That's awesome. And you out there, 49, you might think, oh, 49 is not a big number. That's a great number. It's better than 0.
Yeah.
It's way better than 0. Hell, it's better than 10. It's better than 25. There's a lot of numbers that are lower than 49.
Yeah.
In fact, there's 48 of them. Got there.
All right.
I think this is a good, nice, feel-good moment. This really drives home the point, though, of the previous article, where it's just like, this is how a rehabilitation and rescue should work.
Yes.
You're not there to profit off the koalas. You're there to get them back to where they belong and make sure that they're healthy and they stay safe.
Yes. Agreed.
Let's move on to the next article.
Yes. So I love the title of this article when I came across it. So, Florida man defies odds, finally does something good.
What? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Let's hear the article.
The owner of a Southwest Florida restaurant is trying to figure out who left a $10,000 tip for his employees just before the state's eateries were ordered to close their dining rooms during the coronavirus pandemic. The man's generosity meant the 20 staff members at the Pavilion restaurant split the cash, each getting $500 on the day before they were laid off from their jobs. Ross Edlund, who owns 9 restaurants, told the Naples Daily News that the man who handed a manager the wad of cash is a regular customer, and he thinks his name might be Bill or Bob. He says the man likes to eat on the patio on weekdays, and on weekends he often brings his family for brunch, and they'd like to thank him. It's funny because we have regulars who have been coming in forever, and they're our friends, but we don't really know their names. We know their faces, their orders, their favorite tables, but we don't know exactly who they are, Edlund said. Edlund was forced to lay off 90% of his 200 employees over the past week. He's keeping some of his restaurants open with skeleton crews preparing takeout services. The $10,000 tip was the most benevolent act his workers have seen, says Edlund, but it's not the only one. He said many servers received big tips last week, and they continue to get them as regular customers pick up curbside orders.
That's cool. That's awesome. So wait, this is a Florida man that gave a huge tip? That's what we're talking about here?
Yeah, well, Florida man, the guy who, does meth and rides alligators.
Yeah.
There's a Florida man for every day of the year.
We don't need to go into specifics about what Florida man does, because Florida man does it all.
Yeah.
Florida man does it all. He does the bad things, but apparently he does the good things too.
He's done the good things.
There we go. See, that's how it is, right? $10,000 tip, that's a huge tip. So, now, when you're saying here, so the article says that he left a $10,000 tip, and each one of the staff members got $500, right? So that was only for that one restaurant, though, and the dude did have to shut down
9 restaurants.
Yeah. So, and that's 90% of 200 employees, right? That's a lot.
It was who he laid off, yeah.
That's a lot of people getting laid off, and not all of them went home with the $500, which is unfortunate. But for the 20 that did work at the restaurant he worked at, that's awesome. Yeah. That's a huge boon.
Well,
I
mean, the man left the tip for the restaurant that he knows and loves and attends.
Of course. And to be fair, that person who left the tip may not even know that the owner owns more restaurants.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes you have no idea, right?
Yeah.
So that's awesome. This is another feel-good story for sure.
I know. I like how he thinks that his name might be Bill or Bob because I know exactly.
It's one of those B words.
I know exactly that feeling being in retail for so long because I worked at a pool and hot tub store, just provided chemicals and service. And so we're regularly dealing with the same people over and over again. And we probably know their last names if they're getting water tests done or credit, whatever. But sometimes we have no idea what their first name is. And it's just kind of the thing. You're like, oh, Mr. whatever his name is back. Mr. Smith is back. He needs this. Oh, how's your daughter? How was her wedding? You know these people, but you don't know their fucking name.
Yep. Sounds about right.
I went 4 years before finding out one of my favorite customers' names, and his first name literally shocked me.
Okay.
It was Bliss. His first name is Bliss.
That's a really weird first name.
I'm really disappointed I haven't seen him around town since I left the pool store.
Well, listen. I don't...
But that's the thing. When you're in retail and you see the same people over and over again, you don't always know. It's the same as food service. You talk to them, they're your bud, but you don't know their name.
Fair.
And some people are just horrible at names.
Yeah, like me.
You're good at faces.
Who are you again? Oh, you're that girl that lives with me. Right. Okay. I recognize you. All right. So let's move on to the next article then, I guess.
We're gonna continue in Florida.
Florida again. We haven't left.
We haven't left
the Sunshine
Florida.
State, right?
Sure.
No, Steve, no.
A gender reveal party in Florida went wrong and sparked a 10-acre fire. Firefighters were called to a home in Brevard County, Florida, March 28th or 29th after reports that a blaze was possibly ignited by fireworks, fire officials said. But when they arrived, firefighters realized some explosives had been in the mix. We were informed that it was caused by a gender reveal using tannerite and a weapon, Brevard County Fire Rescue Chief Mark Scholomer said. Tannerite is a highly explosive substance often used as a rifle target. The blaze was fast-moving in heavy fuel and ended up burning 10 acres before it was completely contained within hours, county fire officials and the Florida Forest Service said. No homes were damaged. The county has been under a burn ban, including outdoor activities such as campfires, bonfires, and trash burning because of the dry conditions in the region. The order comes with a fine of up to $500, and it's unclear whether anyone will face that fine.
I mean, I feel like they should. They let up fireworks in a burn ban. Fireworks are fire. Fire is in the name.
I can't believe it's only up to $500. It's a fucking forest fire.
But is it? But here's a question: is it up to $500 per acre? Because that would be about right.
Oh, that would be much better.
Right, that would be about right.
I enjoy that.
Right, that sounds right. That sounds right to me.
You burn 2 acres? That's $1,000.
Yep, that sounds fair.
You burn 10? Whoops.
Whoopsie. Your gender reveal has cost you $5,000.
And this is just a long line of gender reveals that have, like, started forest fires or have injured or even killed people. Stop it.
Sharla and I are both on the same page here. We don't really plan to have kids. And we both think that gender reveal things are absolutely ridiculous. They are an unneeded thing that doesn't do anyone any good.
Even the woman who invented them has said that they're stupid.
Like,
she's like, stop it. We're done. And her kid turned out to be transgender. And she's like, I don't know why I did that. It was dumb. He's wonderful the way he is.
Right?
And I was like, what a beautiful woman.
This is the thing, right? Gender reveal things, like, people just keep trying to one-up the one that they saw online somewhere. I've seen some very ridiculous ones over the last, year and a half, 2 years, and I'm just like, what are these people thinking? Why are people thinking that this is a good and fun and interesting way to do this? And who cares? Who cares? This day and age, we shouldn't be caring about what the gender of our baby is because we don't necessarily know what it's going to be.
That's a social construct,
right? Exactly. Like, it seems like it's just, for me, this is the same as, all of the traditions for weddings, anniversaries, all this nonsense that is sort of just been built over the years of just, oh, well, everyone did it before me, so I should do it as well.
Fuck your heteronormative activities.
It's just a waste of time, and it's a waste of money, and it's a waste of resources, and we can be better.
To be entirely honest, full disclosure here, some of my favorite things to do online are watch compilation videos of failed gender reveals and read horrible horror stories of things that happened at weddings. Those are two of my favorite things to do online, I'm not gonna lie. Everyone's got a guilty pleasure, that's mine.
Charlotte is coming right out there and letting you all know that she's a horrible person that gets pleasure from other people's pain.
Schadenfreude.
Alright, let's move on to the next article.
You could call this story a bit of a sugar rush.
Oh, I'm gonna wreck it.
The Gorham family, who operates the Northwest Fudge Factory in Levack near Sudbury, Ontario, recently made a 530-pound Nanaimo bar. Yeah, that's huge. The bar measured 8 feet long, 44 inches wide, and 3 inches high, which is about 2.5 meters long, 1 meter wide, and 7.5 centimeters thick. Now the family is waiting to hear if their efforts will earn them a Guinness World Record.
I want to go to there.
Chantel Gorman is one of the owners of the Fudge Factory. She said her children, Ella, 10, and Austin, 5, played a big part in the creation of this gigantic dessert. Well, we started with the form and we based it off the same weight we typically do fudge with, she said. So they are very similar, and we decided to make a form that was almost a 4x8 sheet because it had to be transported and weighed. We poured it in 3 layers, just like you would a regular Nanaimo bar. Gorham said she got the idea of pouring the record-breaking bar when she discovered its connection to Canada. First and foremost, it's a very Canadian dessert that originated in Nanaimo, BC in the 1960s, she said. We just thought it would be a great Guinness addition and a nice nod to Canada. Ella, 10, said she'd one day like to try her hand at making another giant bar. My favorite part about it would probably be the swirling of the chocolate on top, the ganache, she said. But before they can consider it a true Guinness record, there's a lengthy process. It could typically take 12 weeks. The bar, she said, is mostly sold out, with the Science North cafeteria having pieces available, as well as the Northwest Trading Company at the intersection of Highway 6 and 17.
They're selling it now.
This article is 2 weeks old, hon.
No, it's gone.
I'm sorry.
It's all gone. No.
I'm so sorry, but would you seriously drive to Sudbury to get a Nanaimo bar?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. But that's a really cool nod to Canada for sure. It's interesting to me that sort of record doesn't already exist.
Right?
So, I hope that they get in. That's awesome. Also, Nanaimo bars, if you are listening and you don't know what a Nanaimo bar is, please do yourself a favor, look it up, see if you can find it anywhere in and around your area to order for delivery or whatever, and get your hands on it. Maybe wait till after quarantine's over, but, you should definitely keep it on the radar. It is delicious.
But you want a traditional, original Nanaimo bar. It's going to be a layer of, chocolate, graham, and coconut, and then you have a layer of a nice yellow custard, and then you've got the chocolate ganache on top. You do not want any of these crazy ones that people make that are mint or maple or pecan or, God, all these other crazy things I've seen out there. You don't want them. You want an original Nanaimo bar.
Don't listen to her.
Listen to me, I'm right.
I love the mint ones. They're so good.
He's wrong.
I love mint, though. I love a good mint Nanaimo bar. Now, I agree that it's not the correct one to have as your first Nanaimo bar.
Yes.
I agree that it's not the first. You should have a traditional one to start.
Yes.
And then if you like it, move on and you can try the varying different types that people have generated over the years.
I will admit that a mint Nanaimo bar is okay.
From time to time.
Yes, but the traditional one is the only one for me. That's how my mom makes it. That's how it's made. Okay?
That sounds like that's how my mama did it. That's how I do it. And that's how we're going to continue to do it.
I've never made a Nanaimo bar. Who the hell do you think I am?
A Canadian who has yet to live, obviously.
Why bother trying to make my own when my mom's are better than I will ever do?
Because we can't get them from your mom right now, and I want them now.
I know, she didn't make any this past Christmas.
I want them now. Now you need to call her and get the recipe so that we can make some and we can show off a picture of it on Twitter or Instagram or whatever later, and I can be like, yeah, I'm not.
I like how you just said all these social medias like we have those for this podcast.
We don't.
This podcast is a standalone
They'll go
adventure.
on mine or go on yours, whatever. Hashtag follow Sharla's Twitter and Instagrams.
I don't have Twitter.
You will.
I don't want to.
But you will.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Spice it up, yo.
Ugh. I thought it was really nice that they involved the children in it.
Yeah, for sure.
They could just be like, oh, we'll just do this and we'll get our employees to do it, whatever, and it'll be done. But they're like, no, we're going to get our kids involved.
They made it like a family thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Ella, 10, loved it.
Yeah.
And she's like, I want to do more.
Yeah.
And that's my kind of gal.
I want her to break her mom's record 10 years from now when she's old enough to do it by herself.
I was going to say when she's 15 years older, maybe she has her own kids. And then she's just like, family thing, we're going to make a giant Nanaimo bar. And then it just continues throughout the generations for the next 100 years.
It's a tradition for that family now.
Exactly.
Let's hope so.
That'd be really nice.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that was a good one. That's another nice feel good. Do you got another article for us?
That's it. 5 today.
That's it. We're done. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening to our Under a Rock podcast. We hope you enjoyed. We tried to keep the coronavirus out of the articles. You will have probably noticed that it did pop up in 2 of them, but not from the aspect that most people are probably talking about it these days. It was more just kind of like a side note that it was happening at the time.
It was mentioned in passing.
Correct. So we're hoping to keep the podcast that way. We hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening. As always, don't forget, to lift that rock off your head from time to time.